Why do some men, no matter how old they get, still live as if life hasn't really started? They talk about the future like it's a movie they'll one day star in, but never show up for the first scene. He's the man who dreams big, speaks of empires, love stories, and world-changing ideas. Yet nothing ever materializes. He's always about to begin, always almost ready, always waiting for the right time. But what if I told you this isn't just immaturity? What if psychology, specifically Carl Jung, already explained this haunting pattern decades ago? This video isn't just about lazy men or indecisive dreamers. It's about the Puer Aeternus, the eternal boy living inside many men today. The man-child who confuses freedom with avoidance and dreams with purpose. The one who fears growing up not because he doesn't want to, but because he believes maturity means death to his spirit. In this story, we'll dive deep into Jung's psychology, into the soul of the modern man lost between potential and purpose. You'll understand why some men refuse to grow up, what it costs them, and how to finally evolve beyond that endless boyhood. Stay until the end, because what you'll hear could change the way you see yourself, your partner, or the men around you, forever. And if at any point this message resonates with you, if you have ever felt stuck between who you are and who you could be, then subscribe. Not for me, but for you. Because if this truth stirs something in you, it means your soul is ready to grow. You've met him before. Maybe you've even been him. The one with that spark in his eyes, who speaks about life as if he's on the verge of greatness. The man who sketches empires in his mind, but never breaks ground. He plans a novel that will change literature, a business that will shake the world, a love that will rewrite destiny. And yet, months pass, years even. The novel is unwritten. The business remains an idea scribbled on napkins. The love fades before it ever faces a real storm. This is not laziness, it's not a lack of intelligence or talent. It's a deeper resistance, a quiet war between potential and reality. Carl Jung called it the Puer Aeternus, the eternal boy, a man who lives suspended between dreams and life, between what could be and what is. He floats above the ground, always in motion, but never anchored. He doesn't hate commitment, he fears it. Because commitment means being seen. It means failing. It means facing the real test of his own worth. So he hides behind one day. One day I'll start. One day I'll move. One day I'll become who I was meant to be. But one day never comes. The eternal boy lives for possibility, not progress. He's addicted to beginnings, allergic to endings. And this pattern, this spiritual paralysis, destroys not only his potential, but the hearts of those who believe in him. If you've ever chased a dream but never finished it, if you've felt trapped between ambition and fear, then this story is for you. Because the only way to break free from the eternal boy is to finally face the man you were meant to become. Let's go deeper. The Puer Aeternus, the eternal boy, is not defined by age. He can be 20 or 60, rich or broke, famous or invisible. What defines him is not the years he's lived, but the life he's avoided. He refuses to descend from the clouds. He dreams endlessly, but dreads the dirt beneath his feet. Reality feels heavy, imperfect, unromantic, so he escapes it, chasing inspiration instead of building discipline. Ask him why things never work out, and you'll hear the same melodies. The timing wasn't right. She wasn't who I thought she was. The world just doesn't understand my vision. Each excuse is elegant, but beneath them hides fear. The fear of being ordinary, the terror of trying and failing. To him, dreams are safe. They live untouched in the fantasy of tomorrow. But action is war. It's rejection, risk, humiliation, and responsibility. And so he drifts, from job to job, from partner to partner, from idea to idea, never staying long enough to grow roots. Carl Jung saw this pattern as a psychological trap, a kind of spiritual adolescence that many never escape. The eternal boy resists reality because reality demands sacrifice. To choose one path means abandoning others. To love one person means giving up infinite possibilities. To grow up means to die, symbolically, to the self that dreams of everything at once. But Jung also understood this. The Puer Aeternus is not evil. He is not lazy. He is simply terrified of limits. His tragedy is that he confuses freedom with avoidance. He believes that to be free is to stay uncommitted. But the truth is the opposite. Freedom is not escaping life's weight. It's learning to carry it with strength and grace. Beneath the charm of the eternal boy lies something fragile, something that rarely gets spoken aloud. It's not arrogance that drives him. It's absence. Carl Jung wrote that at the core of the Puer Aeternus lives a missing figure, the inner father. Not always the literal father, but the archetype, the symbol of discipline, structure, and authority within the soul. Without it, a man drifts. He's like a ship without a captain, powered by wind but without direction. This absence creates a deep, unspoken hunger for grounding, for guidance, for a hand that says, "Stand up, face life." But the tragedy is that the eternal boy searches for that grounding outside of himself, through lovers, mentors, and fleeting adventures. Each time he finds someone who seems strong, he projects that missing father onto them, until they disappoint him. Then he moves on, chasing another source of stability that never lasts. In truth, he is not running toward freedom. He is running from himself, from his unhealed wounds, from the voice inside that whispers, "You are not enough." When life begins to demand structure, when commitment knocks, he panics. Love starts to feel like a cage. A job feels like a trap. Responsibility feels like suffocation. So he escapes. He tells himself he's meant for more, but deep down he's terrified that he might not be. This is the hidden pain of the modern man, brilliance without foundation, inspiration without roots. He's overflowing with potential, yet empty in direction. But there is hope, because recognizing this pattern is the first step toward liberation. The boy cannot vanish, but he can be guided. He can evolve, and that begins the moment he turns inward, to meet the father he never had. The eternal boy lives inside a loop, a hypnotic, endless dance between excitement and escape. It always begins the same way, a spark, a rush, a breathtaking sense of possibility, a new project, a new woman, a new city. It feels like destiny calling. He dives in with passion, with charm, with that unmistakable fire that makes people believe in him. And for a while, everything feels perfect. Life is a movie again, and he's the hero. But then, reality appears. The work gets hard. The routine sets in. Imperfection creeps closer. And suddenly, the excitement fades. The dream begins to feel heavy, almost claustrophobic. He feels trapped. And so, he runs. He convinces himself that he's simply outgrown this job, this person, this situation, that it's no longer aligned with his purpose. But the truth is simpler and far more painful. He's afraid to stay when the thrill is gone. He's addicted to the beginning, to the chemistry, to the novelty, to the adrenaline of what if. The middle, where real growth happens, terrifies him, because the middle requires effort, patience, humility, and failure. This is how the Puer Aeternus sabotages himself. Each escape reinforces the illusion that freedom means leaving before it gets real. But every time he runs, the same story repeats. Different faces, different places, same outcome. And the cost? A trail of unfinished work, broken trust, and dreams buried under almost. Escapism becomes a lifestyle disguised as self-discovery. But deep down, he knows he's circling the same mountain, never reaching the top. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That is the eternal boy's curse. He mistakes avoidance for destiny. To the outside world, the eternal boy looks free. He goes where he wants, does what he wants, answers to no one. He's spontaneous, adventurous, unbound. People envy him, his energy, his refusal to conform, his easy laughter. But look closer, and you'll see it. That freedom is only a mask. Beneath the surface lies a quiet desperation, a man imprisoned by his own fear of responsibility. He believes that staying untethered keeps him alive, that commitment equals death, that choosing one thing means killing every other possibility, and so he floats, proudly calling it freedom, when in truth, it's avoidance. He avoids structure because structure mirrors his own chaos. He avoids discipline because it exposes his inconsistency. He avoids intimacy because it reflects his own emotional distance, and he calls it being independent. But this is not independence. This is paralysis dressed as liberty. The Puer Aeternus wants the fruits of adulthood, success, love, admiration, but not the roots that sustain them. He wants to feel special without sacrifice, loved without vulnerability, accomplished without repetition. And the irony? The more he runs from life's limits, the more limited his life becomes. His avoidance creates the very prison he fears. True freedom, as Jung and every Stoic philosopher reminds us, is not escaping responsibility. It's choosing it. It's standing firm when life tests you and saying, "I'm here. I'm not running anymore." Freedom is not the absence of weight. It's the strength to carry it. The eternal boy believes he's protecting his spirit, but he's only protecting his fear. And until he understands this truth, he will remain a wanderer, lost between the man he dreams of being and the boy he refuses to outgrow. There comes a moment when the illusion breaks, when even the eternal boy can no longer outrun himself. It happens quietly. An empty apartment after another breakup, a birthday that feels more hollow than the last, a sudden ache that whispers, "What have I really built?" That's when the truth hits. The freedom he worshipped has turned into isolation. The adventures he chased have become distractions. And the boy who never wanted to grow up has become a man watching life pass him by. Because there's a cost to eternal adolescence. The world doesn't wait. Opportunities expire. People move on. And the dreams that once glowed with promise begin to fade under the weight of time. Carl Jung warned that when a man refuses to grow, he lives in a state of psychological exile, forever longing, never belonging. His soul becomes a waiting room, filled with unfinished stories. He tells himself, "I just need more time." But what he really needs is courage. The courage to face imperfection, to risk rejection, to build something that might break. Growth demands pain, responsibility demands sacrifice, but it's in that struggle, precisely there, where meaning is born. The eternal boy doesn't realize that maturity isn't the death of magic. It's the transformation of it. The moment he plants his feet on the ground, he stops floating and starts becoming. And maybe that's the real call of this story, not to shame him, but to awaken him. Because the boy within us was never meant to disappear. He was meant to evolve into the kind of man who dreams fearlessly and then acts bravely. If these words struck something inside you, don't scroll away. Subscribe, share your thoughts below, and join the conversation. Not for the algorithm, but for your own growth. Because if this message hit home, it's because a part of you is ready to rise. Carl Jung taught that the goal of life is not perfection, it's integration, to become whole. To unite the light and the shadow, the dreamer and the doer, the boy and the man. The Puer Aeternus doesn't need to kill the child within him. He needs to educate him, to take that same energy, the imagination, the passion, the sense of wonder, and root it in something real. You see, the eternal boy's creativity isn't the problem. His vision isn't the enemy. His gift is sacred. But a gift without discipline becomes a burden. Inspiration without grounding becomes chaos. That is why the first step toward transformation isn't to abandon dreams. To anchor them. To say, I will not just imagine greatness, I will build it. I will not chase freedom, I will earn it. And this is where discipline enters, not as punishment, but as devotion. Discipline is love in motion. It's the act of showing up for your potential, even when motivation fades. Stoic wisdom reminds us that the obstacle is the way. Every difficulty you resist holds the seed of your evolution. Growth doesn't come from escaping the weight, it comes from lifting it. The eternal boy becomes a man the day he stops running and starts choosing. Choosing to stay when it's uncomfortable. Choosing to finish what he starts. Choosing to become reliable. Not to others first, but to himself. And when that shift happens, something beautiful unfolds. The dream doesn't die. It matures. It takes form, gains gravity, and becomes life itself. Because real freedom isn't the absence of limits. It's the mastery of them. The moment you face your resistance with open eyes, you stop being the boy waiting for the right moment and become the man who creates it. Jung believed that true maturity begins the moment we turn inward and meet the parts of ourselves we've tried to avoid. He called this process confronting the shadow, the hidden aspects of the psyche we deny, repress, or fear. For the eternal boy, the shadow is filled with what he refuses to face. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of insignificance. Deep down, he suspects he's not enough. So instead of proving himself through effort, he hides behind potential. He becomes addicted to what could be because what is feels unbearable. But here's the paradox. Until a man looks his shadow in the eye, he cannot grow. The very dragons he runs from guard the gates of his own power. The eternal boy's freedom was never stolen by the world. It was surrendered to fear. Every unfinished project, every broken relationship, every maybe someday is a silent offering to that fear. To face the shadow means to admit, yes, I am afraid. Yes, I've run. But I will run no more. It's not about perfection. It's about ownership. The moment he stops blaming circumstances, partners, or society, he begins to reclaim his strength. And in that moment of radical honesty, something incredible happens. The boy inside finally feels seen, not by others, but by the man he was meant to become. He no longer needs to prove himself through dreams. He starts proving himself through action. He no longer seeks constant validation. He begins to build quiet confidence. This is the turning point, the rebirth. The eternal boy becomes the conscious man, no longer lost in fantasy but rooted in reality, guided by purpose, discipline, and humility. Because the boy who once ran from life is now learning to walk beside it. The boy dreamed of greatness. The man builds it. The boy wanted to be admired. The man chooses to be respected. The boy escaped pain. The man endures it and transforms it into wisdom. This is the evolution Jung envisioned, the transformation from potential to presence. When the Puer Aeternus integrates his shadow, he no longer lives waiting for someday. He understands that life is happening now. The mature man doesn't chase excitement. He cultivates meaning. He no longer looks for freedom in escape, but in mastery. He's learned that responsibility isn't a prison, it's the price of purpose. And purpose changes everything. It gives weight to every choice, clarity to every step, and depth to every relationship. He no longer seeks the perfect woman, job, or moment. He seeks truth. And truth isn't glamorous. It's gritty, imperfect, beautifully real. It demands showing up when no one applauds. It asks for patience when results are slow. It rewards only those who persist. That's why maturity isn't the death of youth. It's its fulfillment. The energy, creativity, and wonder of the eternal boy are still there, but now they serve something higher. The man who once floated above life now stands firm in it. He builds, he gives, he commits. And because of that, his freedom deepens. Not the freedom of avoidance, but of alignment. When you stand where you are, fully engaged, fully responsible, fully alive. You don't lose your spirit. You ignite it. The eternal boy finally understands. Life doesn't begin one day. It begins the moment he stops dreaming about becoming and simply becomes. So here's the truth, raw and unfiltered. Every man carries the eternal boy within him, the part that still dreams, still rebels, still hopes for something extraordinary. That spark is not your enemy. It's your beginning, but it's not meant to rule your life. You were not born to drift from fantasy to fantasy. You were born to build something real. You were not meant to stay weightless. You were meant to bear the weight of meaning. You were not created to remain safe. You were meant to stand tall in the storm. Carl Jung didn't write about the Puer Aeternus to condemn men, but to awaken them, to remind us that freedom without responsibility is just another form of fear, that the true adventure of life begins not when you escape gravity, but when you embrace it. Because in the end, growth is not about killing the boy, it's about teaching him to walk beside the man. The child within you can still dream, still imagine, still create, but now those dreams have roots. Now, they bear fruit. If this message struck something in you, don't ignore it. That ache you feel right now, that's your soul asking you to rise. Subscribe, not for algorithms, not for me, but for you. Because if this spoke to your heart, it means you're standing at the edge of transformation. It means the boy in you is ready to grow, and the man in you is ready to lead. Leave a comment. Tell your truth. What part of you still fears growing up? What part of you is ready to step forward? Because this isn't just a video, it's a mirror. And sometimes the most powerful thing a man can do is finally face his reflection.